They say family is the one constant you can always rely on, but for me, it was more like background noise. My older brother Nate and I were never close, but we got along. We didn't talk every day, but when we did, it was civil, holiday dinners, birthdays, the occasional fishing trip. That was our rhythm, and honestly, I was fine with that, until I met Emily. We met at a local charity run. Me volunteering with the water station, her leading a youth group. I remember thinking she had the kind of calm energy you only find in people who know exactly who they are. Within months, we were inseparable. A year in, I proposed under the old elm tree in my backyard. She said yes before I even finished asking. That's when Nate started texting more. At first, it was friendly, jokes about wedding planning, questions about her favorite music, even a few compliments on her Instagram posts. I didn't think much of it. He was probably just trying to be involved, but then came the late-night DMs, the inside jokes I wasn't part of, and the odd way he always seemed to show up when Emily was around. It didn't feel threatening yet, but something was off. At first, I chalked it up to Nate just being Nate, quirky, overly familiar, never great with boundaries, but Emily started noticing things I hadn't. He'd text her out of nowhere asking how her day was, if she'd eaten, if she was doing okay. At first it seemed polite, then came the dinner invites, just the two of them, nothing weird, he said, just wanted to get to know my future sister-in-law better. She always declined, but it left her uneasy. Then there were the looks, subtle but unmistakable. I'd catch him watching her a second too long, his eyes flicking to her lips when she talked. Emily told me she started to feel like he was studying her, like she was a puzzle he was trying to figure out, but she didn't want to stir up trouble, not yet, until one night, sitting on the couch, she showed me a message from Nate. It read, "Just be careful with him, okay? He's not always who he seems to be." I reread it twice. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, trying to stay calm. Emily shrugged, clearly disturbed. He's been saying weird things lately, that you're intense, that you get angry easily. I think he's trying to plant doubt. The chill that ran through me had nothing to do with the temperature. I've never raised my voice at Emily, never slammed a door, never even so much as cursed during an argument. So when she showed me another message from Nate, this time saying, "If you ever feel unsafe, just know you have options," I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. It didn't make sense. I called Nate the next morning, asked if we could talk. We met at a coffee shop near his place. I kept it calm. "Where is this coming from?" I asked. "Why are you saying things that aren't true?" He didn't flinch, just stirred his drink and said, "I'm just worried about her. She's sweet, sensitive. You've got a temper, people notice." My temper? I laughed. "Nate, that's not me." He gave me a pitying look, like I was too naive to understand my own behavior. "Look, I'm not trying to start anything, but people talk." And apparently, they had been. A mutual friend texted me later that week, "Hey man, everything good with you and Emily? Heard some stuff." Something was unraveling and I knew I had to be careful, very careful. I came home late that Thursday, just another long day at work. Emily was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, pale and visibly shaken. "You need to see this," she said, handing me her phone. It was a screenshot from the extended family group chat Nate had been posting there, casually, as if just sharing concerns, but the words cut deep. "Some things just aren't what they seem." I won't name names, but I've heard someone close is dealing with emotional manipulation, scared to leave. Sometimes people need help they're too afraid to ask for. Several relatives responded with sympathy. One even wrote, "Whoever she is, I hope she finds the strength." Emily looked at me, voice tight. "He's making it sound like I've been telling him things that I haven't said a word to anyone. This is all him." That's when the switch flipped in my mind. This wasn't about concern. It wasn't even about me. Nate wasn't trying to warn her. He was trying to poison the well, slowly and publicly, drive a wedge between us, maybe even replace me. And now, the damage wasn't just between us. It was bleeding into the whole family. This was war. But I wasn't going to fight it on his terms. We didn't want to go to the next family dinner, but avoiding it would only give Nate more room to twist the story. So we prepared. Emily spent hours compiling screenshots, his private messages to her, the group chat posts, even comments he'd made to mutual friends. Every sentence was time-stamped, clear, undeniable. 2 days before the dinner, we sent a quiet message to a few relatives we trusted. "Can we talk before Saturday?" One by one, they came over or joined a video call. We didn't push emotions. We just showed them the facts. Most were stunned. A few apologized for not seeing it sooner. But not everyone. One cousin muttered, "Well, maybe he was just trying to protect her." Another aunt frowned and said, "You two do seem intense sometimes." The night of the gathering came. Emily was tense that I felt like I was walking into a courtroom. Nate was already there, smile tight, pretending everything was fine, but the air shifted as people started whispering, some glancing his way, others mind that I stood up, raised my voice just enough to cut through the clatter of silverware. "I think we need to clear something up, all of us." Heads turned, Nate froze, wine glass halfway to his lips. That it was time. The room went quiet as I stood. All eyes were on me, some curious, others worried. I looked at Nate and said, calmly but firmly, "You've been telling people Emily is afraid of me, that she's being emotionally manipulated. That I want to hear it from you, in front of everyone. Where did you get that from?" Nate shifted in his seat. "I never said that exactly. That I just shared some concerns. That it wasn't personal, just stuff I'd picked up." "From where?" I asked again. "What proof do you have?" He hesitated, glancing around the room for support. "It's not about proof. It's about intuition. You don't always see what people go through." Emily stood up. "Enough." Her voice was steady, clear. "I never said I was afraid. I never said I was being abused. You made it up, Nate. You twisted normal things and turned them into lies." I opened my folder and handed copies of the messages to our uncle. Screenshots of Nate's private texts, his misleading statements, everything. That I let the silence do the work. As the pages passed hand to hand, murmurs started to build, eyes narrowed, whispers turned into side conversations, shock, confusion, and then, a slow understanding. This wasn't just concern. That it was a calculated attack. And Nate had nowhere left to hide. The room felt like it wasn't breathing. That my parents sat frozen, my mother's hand clutched over her mouth. That my father just stared at Nate like he was seeing him for the first time. Nate stood up slowly, his voice shaking, but not from remorse. "You all think this was malicious," he said, glancing from face to face. "I was trying to help. That I've seen relationships fall apart, and I didn't want that for her." "No," my father said, his voice low, "you didn't want that for him." Nate's expression cracked. "Oh right, because he's perfect. Because you've all been on his side since we were kids. That I've always been the extra, the one nobody listened to. I just wanted someone to see me." He looked around, but no one said a word, not in support. Emily stepped forward, her voice calm but final. "Wanting to be seen doesn't give you the right to lie. Hurt people." That's when my uncle, who usually avoided conflict, spoke. "We love you, Nate, but until you own what you did, there's no place for this. You crossed a line." Nate's face hardened. "You're all blind. You'll regret this." He turned, muttered something under his breath I didn't bother catching, and stormed out, slamming the door behind him, and just like that, the air cleared. But something in all of us had changed. In the weeks that followed, the silence from Nate was louder than any outburst he could have made. He didn't call. Didn't text, just vanished. First, I waited for the next hit. Some dramatic apology or one last accusation. But it never came. Instead, we started hearing quiet revelations. A cousin mentioned Nate once. Spread rumors about her boyfriend too. Another relative remembered him, warning, a friend's partner years ago. A pattern we hadn't seen before now came into focus. My parents didn't make a public announcement, but it became clear. Nate was no longer invited to family gatherings, his name stopped showing up in chats, his seat at the table stayed empty. It wasn't rage. It was resolution. Emily and I took time to heal. We saw a counselor, talked through the damage, the doubts, and slowly the tension loosened its grip. The wedding was small, just those who stood by us through everything. No drama, no speeches about second chances, just vows, laughter, and the quiet strength of people who chose each other over noise. Sometimes I think about Nate, not with hate, but with a distant kind of sadness. Some storms don't pass, they just move on, but our life, finally, is calm. And that's more than enough.